My last video was a large scale project. I think we ended up pouring 128 ounces of resin. This one is going to be kind of just the opposite. We're going to be working on something on a pretty small scale. I think it should be something really interesting. My friend Scott Grove gave me some of this product that he makes. It is actually crushed mother of pearl. I've been trying to figure out what to do with it for a while. I was trying to dream up a way to highlight it, but also conserve the material itself. And I think I came up with something kind of cool. This is the brass tube for a Sierra style pen. And all I did was paint this tube white with a couple coats of this Rust-Oleum. I'm just going to load up this tube with some CA glue. Put a liberal amount on here. And then before the glue cures, I'm going to cover this thing in the mother of pearl inlay. There's a couple areas here that are barren. We'll just give them a tap of glue. But I went ahead and got 2 of these made, and I can put them in the mold. Let me show you my mold. Okay, so here's my mold. It's actually made for this kind of work. To suspend your tube in a center of a mold. So we have 2 brass tubes, covered in paint, covered in mother of pearl, suspended in the center of a silicone mold with these little stoppers on the side. And all we have to do now is fill these 2 areas up with resin. So the resin that I'm working with today is called Alumilite, and I've never used it before. If I'm honest, I'm a little worried about it. It says, working time 7 minutes. So I'm just, a little nervous. The other thing is that this resin, I guess, is mixed by weight and not volume. So what you have to do is you have to get a scale and then you zero it out. We're going to pour in side A. And I'm going to just do it by how much I think needs to go in there from a volume. I'm just looking. All right, so oh, and my scale's slow. Yippee. So that's 17 grams. So now what I need to do is I need to zero out the scale and now pour another 17 grams of this side. And scale's taking forever. It's not doing anything. There's stuff in there, by the way. Not that the scale notices. Are you going to weigh us? How many grams is that? You don't feel that? Oh, goody. This is not going well. $13, $14, $15, $16, oh, 17. Okay. Now I've got 7 minutes. So I want to stir this for 30 to 45 seconds. So say the 5-page directions on this, which is absurd. We scrape down the sides and the bottom. The other thing is Alumilite is apparently really highly reactive to water, so you have to make sure there's no moisture in anything that you're casting with it. Right. Oh. Okay, and I'm just going to top off these 2 molds. Tightens the pressure pot, being sure not to move it, and then we just pressurize the pot to 50 psi. So a number of you mentioned from the last video that you thought the brass shavings that we did would look better in clear resin. My original goal for that video was to have a table that looked like the murder bowl. I think those of you who mentioned this were right. I think that would be a really cool look. I appreciate your comments, and the good news is I still have a lot of brass shavings left, so we can totally do this again in the future. Well, they look pretty clear. I don't see any imperfections in them. All we have to do now is square up these barrels. All you're doing is basically squaring up the outside of the blank to the brass tube. And now we should be ready for the lathe. And then this just slips right on here. Should fit right in. And then we'll turn the material down until we are flush with this outside diameter here. Now that it's in round, we're going to start getting some really cool resin ribbons. I actually have a dust collector specifically made for pen turning, but I don't know, I feel like it ruins it. I like all the shavings. They get in the way, but they're kind of fun. Now, for the fun part, sanding. Start with 240, 320, 400, 600, and 800. When we were done with the turning, you could actually see it better than you can now. We have a super smooth blank, and it's got a nice shape to it. And yep, it's got a good fit right up to the edge. Cool, so now we can break out the micro mesh. Micro mesh is my polishing set that I use. They bring resin to a high polish. It is their own grit system that starts at 1500 and goes through to 12,000. And it's the same as sandpaper, you just work through the grits. By using the water, it actually keeps the whole thing cool, and so it cuts better. It also keeps down on the dust. Can you see that? That is really cool. It is smooth as silk. I'd like to thank Audible for sponsoring this video. With Audible, you can listen on any device, anytime, anywhere. At home, on the commute, or just on the go. My daily commute is a 45-minute slow drag down the freeway. I fill that otherwise weary march with Audible. I'm currently listening to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, an engaging fantasy chronicle. Kavoth, who reminds me of a mix between Ender Wiggins and D'Artagnan, is actually telling his own story to sort out the myth and fable from fact. It's a perfect platform for this medium. Audible members can choose 3 titles every month, 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals that you cannot hear anywhere else. Get your free 30-day trial and download your audiobook by going to audible.com/Peter Brown or simply text Peter Brown to 500 500. That's audible.com/PETER BROWN or text Peter Brown to 500 500. It's actually been long enough since I've made a pen that I had to consult the directions. That's something I would not have had to do 5 years ago. And I think all you do is you want to press the top in. That's the part once that you get the fits. 2 halves, you should just, there's a press fit together. This piece keeps going sideways on me. All right, and there it is. And that's it. Once those 2 halves are pushed together, you're done with all the stressful parts. All right, yeah, just assembling the parts together. And then this should just slide over that. Look at that. Mother of pearl pen. I had been trying to dream up a way to conserve the mother of pearl for a while. I didn't want to waste it by just sort of casting an entire blank in this and then turning it down. It would you would lose so much of the material. But by doing it this way, you only use a very small amount of material. When you're doing pen turning, it's surprising to find out how little material is left after the turning process. In addition to that, because none of it comes up to the surface, the outside surface is just incredibly smooth. There's a really cool depth to it, and you can see all the different colors, the blues, the reds, the purples. Yeah, it reminds me of fish scales up close. This might be one of my favorite pens I've ever made. I really like it. I hope you guys like it too. In addition to the chrome pen, I did end up fitting one into a gold kit as well. I think I prefer the way the chrome kit looks with this. It's just a preference option. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.